Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carl Prusa MMA. I'm Carl Prusa. We got a very, very special guest for you today. You know, he's one of the most legendary, well-known coaches in MMA history. He was a former
Appreciate
fighter himself. He's fought some of the greatest in the world, co-founder of American Top Team. He is Mr. Conan Silveira. Conan, what's
I
up, my friend? How are
appreciate
you?
it. I appreciate having me here. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. What I love about you, man, is you've really watched this sport grow in front of your eyes. You started at a time, it wasn't called MMA, it was called anything goes. It was called no holds barred. It was called Valley Tudo. There was a time where weight classes weren't really a thing. People didn't really wear gloves at the time. We were first starting to get into it. What was it like when you first started? What was the whole scene like finding a fight?
Um, First of all, I can say that I have been watching. I have been part of, physically, mentally, spiritually, part of from the whole thing. And to answer your question is, I say then back then was the cave time man, the cave time MMA, you know, uh, um, era. So it's 100% or even more than 100% different from before in any aspect. The training, the strategy. I mean, everything today is so complete. I should say MMA is more technology than anything nowadays.
It's kind of crazy. At one point, MMA was considered human cockfighting by people. It wasn't legal in every single state. People thought people who did it belonged in prison and it had a bad rap to it. When you first got into this, do you remember any stories of maybe mystery opponents with no weigh ins, fighting outside, fighting at a bar, fighting at a barn? Do you have anything crazy?
Yes, and happened with not with anybody, but it happened with me. When I was defending my title, battle cage title, the Extreme Fight battle cage, that was my defense after the tournament of three fights in the same night. The promoters from Extreme Fighting were trying to put the show on the pay per view in New York City. So everything was fine with the date, with the place, fighters in the hotel waiting. Pretty much it was the beginning of the fight week. About Tuesday, around 3:30 in the morning, uh, everybody's waking up. Everybody was being waking up to pack and leave. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Where are you going? Everybody must to leave the hotel and go to a different place. Why? Because back then, John McCain. He already died. The Senator John McCain. He was well connected with the boxing, and I don't know the reasons why with that connection, but anyway, he went to a national TV, and he announced that he was after us. He was saying, "Listen, I'm gonna find out what hotel and where you guys staying, and I'm gonna arrest everybody." Do you see? We didn't do anything just for the fact that wasn't called MMA. That is a pretty name for anything goes. Back then, he was seen as a criminal, not criminal because you committing a crime, but it was just because it wasn't legal, was not legal. So anyway, he was right after us. I mean, literally, physically after us. So everybody leaves the hotel, goes to the airport, and the promoters they charter a airplane, a 747. They put every single person that was working for Battle Cage Extreme Fighting. They flew to Canada. Getting to Canada, supposedly between the hours from the morning to the afternoon, they found a place in the Indian reservation in Quebec. I don't remember. I believe it was, and supposedly everything was legally legal. Put it this way. So okay, everybody gets to the hotel. Kind of everybody stands. I mean, we just flee from being jail and whatever. So comes Friday, I fight. I win against Carl Franks, a 6 times kickboxing champion, and comes to 1 minute and 15 seconds. I was the main fight, defending my title. I was extremely happy. I was like jumping, you know, and waiting. I went to the hotel. No one scratching my face. Nothing. I'm still the champion. Went to pay per view. Everybody saw. So the promotion was really really close to UFC. It was just UFC and Battle Cage Extreme Fighting. So around like 45 minutes after I got in the hotel to change clothes, shower, I go to the lobby and I'm waiting with some friends, students, and they came to watch me fight. And I see a probably about 10, 15 police cars parking in the front of the hotel. I mean, I never expected, or I never thought that it was something to do with me because I didn't do anything. So the guy then was leading the group, the police officers goes to the front desk, with pictures, and I'm watching from far and start questioning the guy. So he comes to me and with Igor, the middleweight champion, with his picture, and he asked me, "Do you guys know that guy?" And I look at his picture, say, "No, I don't. I have no idea who it is. I don't know what he did. Why am I going to say anything? I stay quiet." So the same foot, he went back to the front desk. He came back with my picture. So you don't know Igor, but you know Conan, right? And I look the picture. I'm gonna say, I guess I do. I mean, and I was still. I'm thinking, even he has my picture. He's leading the police officer. Why he was looking for me? I didn't do anything. So he comes to me and he say, I have to arrest you. And I say, why? I didn't do anything. I was fighting like hour ago, or like hour and a half ago. He say, because that. But that is a sport, that's professional fighting. Like, not here. So long story short, they ended up arresting me on Friday for a illegal prize fighting. What it is illegal prize fighting? It's less than the charge is less than you getting a ticket. But because it was political, was very political, no judge will sign anything, so they have to enforce their arrest. With me was another 8 fighters and promoters and the announcer. So long story short, again, I went from Friday after winning the fight, keeping the belt, staying champion, stay in jail for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Monday morning, they take us to the court. I don't know exactly the name, but I know the judges and promoters and lawyers that have the wig, very old style. I forgot how we call that. So they took us to the court, but just for show. They want to just prove to the Indian reservations, to the Indian, they cannot do something that is not being approved by the government. Because what they sold to the promoters, then I have the right and I can do whatever I want, because even it is inside Canada, it is an Indian reservation. So that's the reason why it was so political. Anyway, they released us Monday, from the court to straight to the airport, and 6 months later they dropped the charge. So yes, I mean, I never saw that happening to anybody. Um, I don't know. It's kind of funny. Yes, I mean, I believe then that was part of being a pioneer in MMA, going through the situations like that. You know, and nowadays it's so legal. In any aspect. You need license, USADA, etc., etc., etc. Rules. So yeah, I have been not watching but a living MMA.
One thing that's so amazing is you really hit it on the head. I mean, this thing has evolved so much and it's in all aspects. Obviously, now it's TV, now it's legal, now it's sanctioned. the training has evolved, the talent has evolved, the science behind it has evolved. I think American Top Team did so much for that. American Top Team, one of the first gyms to really instill, if you want to be a world-class fighter, you train year-round. There's no fighting, then taking 2 months off, and then going back into an 8-week training camp. I think you guys were the first ones to really instill, you have to train year-round. There's nutrition behind it. There's science behind it. It's a formula to get there. How important do you think that was in help grooming and evolving the sport?
Let me make a correction. 2 things. Number one, I believe that MMA is not a sport for a long time ago. It's a science. I believe real coaches are scientists that go to the lab and create a formula for each fighter every time they fight. It's not the same formula. Every fight is a different combinations, different components. I do not see MMA as just a professional sport. It is for science. You have to understand. Then you literally has to put the white clothes and the white vest and be on the lab trying to create a formula for this fighter, for this fight, what kind of training, what kind of nutrition, what kind of everything that you have to go through. Definitely, yes. That's one thing that I do believe billion times the fact that American Top Team, it is what it is today. It is because the fact that we don't get stuck. One of the things that we have they say in Brazil, when the team is winning, we don't touch anything. That is a wrong thing to say. Every time you win, you need to look for things that you need to make change. How can I get better? It's not because you're winning once, then it's going to make you win twice. It doesn't work like that, especially in MMA. So yes, I do believe that being part of, I was there before the team was born. Co-founder means, I'm the dad. I was there waiting for the babe to come out, called American Top Team, and have I could not ask for a better position, better time, better family, all that.
Absolutely. So, some people know, some people don't know. You have fought in the UFC 15 and a half. You fought Sakuraba not 1, 2 times in the same night. Talk about, how did that whole thing happen?
That was still part of the time then things were not sanctioned. There was not law involved on the sport, especially in Japan. I'm not going to get into details. I don't want to get into that to say this and that, but I'm going to make you guys understand. So I was part of the tournament, the first UFC tournament in Japan, and was 4 fighters in each side. Was me against Sakuraba. Then Sakuraba got on the last 3 days. They pulled the other guy. Then was another Japanese called, I believe, was Angel, something like that. Was Tank and the other side against another Japanese. The winner will fight each other. So that night, Tank and the other Japanese, I don't remember the name, they kill each other. So they could not come back. The first fight between me and Sakuraba, I won the fight. If it was early stop, doesn't matter. I won the fight. It's not then anybody now today will say, okay, let's go back and fight again. Or let's reverse the result. You can't do that. It is what it is. The referee decide by interpretation, or I was beating him, whatever it was, is done. But because I was in Japan and because the UFC was supported by the famous, gang over there, if you know what I mean, the people that really tells when happens, how happens, was no more Japanese in the tournament. It was not Japanese on the card. So the only way they could make the Japan card be worth of having that in Japan was me to fight Sakuraba again. So they came to me after the first fight and said that they came to my dressing room and they say, you got to go back and fight Sakuraba again. And I say, of course, when? 3 months? again, because I was supposed to fight not Sakuraba, the alternate. The alternate was waiting. They disappear with the guy. They push Sakuraba to go back to the basically become the alternate again. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna fight him again. Of course not. In 3 months, I won the tournament. Basically, I gotta fight the alternate, and no, 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 no. You gotta fight Sakuraba again. But like, doesn't make any sense. How do you fight somebody, then you won, and you gotta give him a second chance the same night? What's the reason why? Anyway, as the conversation was happening, my brother then was with me, came to me and say, "Hey, look outside your dressing room." So I kind of put my head out. I stick my neck out of the room. I'm like, holy moly. When you feel, Carlos, then you're not in the safe place anymore. You see faces and people, then you say, oh, I don't think I'm going to get out. If I don't fight him, I think it's going to be kind of hard to go back home. I don't know if it was going to happen or not, but I got that feeling then it was around there. So, I mean, I was imposed, forced, I don't know, you can call it the way you want, to fight him again. So I didn't have any other choice besides that. So I went to the fight, not that I'm trying to justify anything, but I went to the fight, not just think about going back to the hotel, pack, and leave. That was my main thought going to the fight to fight him second time. And that's exactly what I did. I stay on the airport like 10 hours waiting for the plane. I say, I'm not leaving. As soon as I got to the hotel, I packed quick as I can. I went to the airport and I stayed there waiting for my plane. I said, nah, I don't want to take any risk. Maybe they change their mind or I don't know.
Since that time, obviously the UFC as an organization has grown very heavily. And,
Oh,
there's so many different things, but to me, it comes to three people. It's Dana White, it's Lorenzo Fertitta, and it's Frank Fertitta. I think those three had a vision in it. They bought it in 2001. At first it was getting better, but it was still losing money. 2005, they launched the Ultimate Fighter, and I think that's the first time that people in the mainstream world got to see what fighters go through. Obviously, Forrest Steppen, they have one of the best fights ever. How big an impact do you think those three gentlemen made on mixed martial arts?
I will say then you're 100% right about the three names, but the three names come with a lot of consistency because they could have the money and say, you know what, we're just losing so much money. I'm tired to do with this illegal and done right, and we gotta hassle to have the UFC and take to the places. A lot of the states would not legalize that, but it was consistent. They not only believe, but a vision and the potential they saw before anybody was just unbelievable. I mean, we could not be talking today, about not such of MMA or anything goes, because that was exactly what happened. I do believe then because I'm not the only one, and I give the credit to a lot of the fighters from back then, they create that pave for this. All the experience, all the risks, and all. I mean, fighting was how you fight somebody three times the same night. If you stop and thinking and see fighting as fighting, you want to say that is crazy. How do you train for three fights? No time limit, no gloves, no nothing. If you go 15, if you go 20 minutes, doesn't matter. So I do believe then the combination it is what makes MMA today.
Absolutely. Now we're at a point so many people watch mixed martial arts, not in the UFC. There's all these other promotions.
Global thing, Carlos. A global.
It's global.
Everywhere you go, it's not one country. Then you go. Even the country then has a TV. Then you still gotta, generate energy. And they say, no, I'm doing that for UFC. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be here and I'm going to watch it. They still, yes, 100%. I have been everywhere, and it's unbelievable how people not only watch but they love MMA.
And now one thing that we're seeing from that is you have a term now called the casual fan. These people, they watch it every single weekend. And, they look at the big names. They look at Masvidal. They look at Khabib. They look at Dos Santos. They look at McGregor. And they think to themselves, being a fighter, greatest life ever. They see the fame, the glory, the spotlight. Little do they know, man, you know how it is. Battling it out on the regional scene to get there, they're losing money. They have to have the 9-to-5 job. You throw a wife in there, you throw kids in there. Pay to train, miss birthdays, weddings, holidays. Some guys are moving from all these different countries to the U.S. just to pursue this, just with the chance to maybe fight in the UFC, maybe fight in the PFL. And even when you first get in there, you're not making millions of dollars right away. What is it like to be able to, help guys through these sacrifices and help them, get in the world?
Uh, Great question. Number one thing, what everybody believes, what they think they see, this unbelievable life, and it is unbelievable life, but nobody sees the price. Everybody sees the lights, the green grass, and all the beautiful trees, but nobody sees the sacrifice. MMA fighter doesn't have holidays, doesn't have a anniversary with his wife, doesn't have birthday with the kids, doesn't have New Year's, doesn't have Christmas. It doesn't have nothing. When I say nothing, you say, well, what are we doing this? Pure passion. When you are really, you really are pursuing what you want, the first thing that you have to understand that with the dream becoming reality comes a big price. Most of the people don't want to pay for, they want to have that, they want to have the same results, but they don't want to pay the price. And that's exactly, I believe, in the different areas, when you want to be the best, that's exactly what you got to do. A lot of the fighters we have they come from a different country, leaving the family, the wives, the kids, everything that they love to pursuing a dream. But the first thing then is what I advise them. First thing then we have a talk when they come and sit in my office and they say, what moves you? What really makes you become or look for to become an MMA fighter? And you're like, oh, because I want to make money. I want to give a better life to my family. And say that is not a reason. That is consequences. The consequences is what you're going to give to your family. What is the reason? You are, you are in passion with whatever, but it has to be love. I mean, what a love has to do with this, Conan? Everything. Because if you don't have love, you don't know what you're doing. You have no direction. You have no idea what a sacrifice, obstacles, and situations that you're going to go through. Nobody knows what is getting up every single day of your life with no Saturdays and Sundays, and I have to train. Most of the time, like any other human being, you're going to have your days that you don't want to do it. MMA fighter don't have that day. If you don't do because you want to, you got to do because you have to. So it is a life that I'm not trying to bring to you a image of MMA fighter. It is a different human being or a different species. No, I believe in different areas you have to be the same. If you really want to be a amazing reporter, you have to put yourself in risk. You're not going to just make interviews when you're sitting home. Sometimes you're going to be in the shooting or in the place or in the country that you feel 100%, unsecure, and you don't know if you're going to go back home. But you want to so much what you're doing, and you have a passion for what you're doing that is more important than your own safety. So yes, that is exactly what I bring to them. On the top of everything, I tell them it's going to be extremely difficult. But what advice is that? I mean, I didn't get here, and you're already telling me that it's going to be difficult. Say it's going to be extremely difficult. I mean, you have to compete with a lot, with the people, places, and with yourself. But it's possible. The
Absolutely.
question that you have to do to understand if it's for you or not is how bad do you want? That is
You
the question between dream and reality, Carlos. How bad do you want? It's not that difficult. You just got to ask yourself, right between one thing and the other, How bad do you want? That leaves the answer.
You've helped guided so many fighters, throughout the years. Dustin Poirier's, the world Amanda Nunez's, Jorge Masvidal's. There's so many. One of them, your son, Josh Silveira. Obviously doing great things in the PFL. When he first told you, he wanted to fight, and you could see him taking serious, and doing the pro fights. How did that make you feel?
Um, my first feeling was to make sure that he was doing because he wants, not because he was my son. My deal with my son always was from day one, since he was a year and a half, running in the gym, being with the fighters, being in the environment of the fighters. When he told me he was still in the high school, and I say, that's fine, then you want to become a fighter. But one thing you're gonna agree by my rules. The only way you're gonna become a professional fighter is the day you finish college. The day you finish school, you can go and train wherever you want. I don't care. Of course, being his dad was, he already had American top team there waiting for him. I mean, he's always been part of, he was born and raised in American top team, but that was my deal with him. Anything after you finish school, I don't care what you're gonna do. I really don't. And on the top of that was to make him understand what kind of life he was choosing from himself. I didn't save anything. I just say, oh, that's my son. I'm going to try to make it easy for him. Not at all. I treat him exactly how I treat the other fighters. I treat other fighters like a little bit like kids, like my kids. That is, in my opinion, for me, is part of to be a coach. You got to have the relationship, then you feel closer to the person because you got to understand what kind of dream they have, what are they pursuing for as a dream. So I make sure then he understands that's the list of things that you have to deal with, and the majority of the list is about sacrifice. If you're okay with that, nothing to say. You just got to do it.
For you, did you get more nervous watching your guys fight than when you actually went out there and did it?
That is one question that everybody asks me, especially because they know, myself and they know my son. Don't I do not feel that I don't feel any. It's kind of hard because it's kind of hard to make people believe talking. They say, no, come on, you, his dad. At the moment that he's fighting, Carlos, he doesn't need me as a dad. He needs a coach. He needs somebody that sees what he's not seeing. If I let the dad take over, the dad is going to be emotional. The dad is going to be, I want my son to win. So what I do is that's the way I explain to everybody. I tell the dad, I say, stay quiet, stay here in the corner, but be quiet. Let him work. He needs a coach. He doesn't need a dad. That's the talk that I have with myself. So when I'm the day of the fight, or even when I'm training him, I complete tell the dad, be quiet, don't say anything, don't come with any emotions, let me be professional. And it works. I mean, me and him works really well. I mean, we are father and son. He doesn't call me coach, he calls dad. And I like that because it is times and place then we have to not disappear but neutralize. You got to say put on the side. Let's do the best we can with each other.
Absolutely. You've been in part of so many big names, and I think right now you have one that is already blown up, but going to be one of the face of the sport, and that's Dakota Dacheva. She is on such a run right now, obviously winning the PFL title. I asked you about her in Biloxi. I asked you, is the sky the limit for Dakota Dacheva? And you said she's past the skies. Could this be, from the day you met her, did you see this in her future?
Um, I It's one thing when you know the fighter because you watch the fights, his fights or her fights. Is one thing that when you start being with the fight in the daily basis, every day, training, especially in the PFL, that is a tournament thing. So it is every single, you get out on a fight, you jump out the fight, and it goes like that. It's everything in the such of a rush and little time for do everything. So the relation kind of grows fast and strong. And right away, I noticed then she was different, but the difference was not so much. It's not that it is not, but it's not so much on her talent. Was on her thinking process. Was the way she sees, the way she thinks about how should I train, how should I fight. It is one thing then really divide best fighters and no fighters. It is the feeling that you have and you carry with yourself at the moment of the fight. I'm going to explain to you what is that feeling. Every single time, doesn't matter if you fight 100, 500, 1 million times or 5 million times. The feelings, the emotions, the questions, the did I sleep right? Did I eat right? How many times I go pee? How many times I feel then I have diarrhea? The anxiety, they gonna show up every single time. So what is the difference between fighters? They fight so good. They fight almost on the perfection. The ones they look like they are prepared to fight, but they in the first minute of the fight they just demolished. They just disappear. It is the feeling of like the things you don't like it. When you see that feeling in another way, in a way of and illustrating the way I'm saying, when you walk on the dressing room coming from the hotel, and as soon as you walk on the dressing room to get ready for the fight, you can see a bunch of ghosts, and each ghost represents a feeling of excitement, question, doubts, all the feelings. Then you feel then the dryness in your body and your throat. Is people, is fighters then gonna fight against them, and is fighters then gonna embrace them. That is the big difference between fighters. Is the people then say, people, I was waiting to be with you guys, I was waiting to embrace you guys, and people then start fighting them before the fight, the physical fight. It's
Absolutely.
not such a gift, a God's gift. The guy has a gift. That's bullshit. That's not such a gift because the situation goes to exactly the same to everybody. You make the choice how you're going to deal with that. Some people's going to love it. Some people's going to hate it, and that has so much to do with a fighter like her. She is, she is incredibly happy. If you talk to her before she walks to the cage, you think that she's crazy because she's in such of a level of happiness. Finally, I'm getting here. Oh my God, let me go. Let me. Some people are like, can I have another 5 minutes? Can you come back in another 10 minutes? I haven't seen it. I have been there. So I know exactly how they feel. Everybody say, oh, back in your time, I felt happy. I felt like that is my day with my name just for me. So that's the best way I can explain, like my son, he feels, my God, I'm here with my dad. I'm gonna fight. So it's the enjoyment, it's happiness, it's love involved with what you do. If you don't have that, she's like I say, going back to her, she feels exactly like that. When you are around her, you feel like, my God, she want to fight every day. If she could repeat as, can I fight Monday, Tuesday, and goes like that, she'll do it.
Absolutely. The sport is so mainstream now. It's watched by so many people. It's on all these big streaming platforms. You see the product every single week. And, me personally, I'm love and hate relationship with it, but I know it's a necessary evil. It's very entertainment. It's very personality driven now. I think the sport has grown up so much. It has that personality element. There's guys, let's face it, exactly what I'm talking about here. There's guys who put on characters. They put on facades. They're people, they're not in the dressing room and they're on TV. Why? Because they know they're going to get title fights. They know they're going to get to the UFC quicker. They know that's the sub part of the formula and part of the ingredient to make it in this day and age. From the time this first started to now, how has personality and entertainment affected mixed martial arts?
I believe they always had it. The thing then what I see today in that something is a part, a part that concerns me is you can say and you can be any character, you can be any persona, you can do whatever you want, but just don't forget what you're doing and why you're there. I do not, in my opinion, the way I am, and I gotta answer that question that way. I don't like too much the trashing talk about family, your wife, your dog, your father. I think that you can say whatever you want to say in a different way. I think the respect still has to be present because we're talking about martial arts. But I understand about entertainment. You have to provoke, you have to be different. But there's so many ways that you can do that. Not necessarily you have to go in Instagram and say, hey, your mother, I saw a wife. I just don't think that, again, my opinion, I won't do that. That's going to take you to nowhere. I mean, you want to get followers by people hating you. I mean, that is the message that you want to, because you we have to understand one thing. When you become a public person, it is your obligation to share something good. You want to get people in the right track. You want to get people and motivate people and show to them, I am a human being like you and I did it. So you can do that too. When you go to the other side, can you say the same thing? That's exactly what you want. You wanna just making money and provoke people and just be a badass trash talker. Um, I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody. Nobody changes anybody. You do whatever you choose to, but I just believe then it's not what makes you. I do believe that it's so important to become somebody public and reach the people that needs to listen, to understand who you are, why you there, how did you get there? Tell me, make me feel then I'm like you and I have the same choices, because that's exactly what we need to do.
No, absolutely.
It is my opinion.
No, absolutely. I think in this day and age, one thing that's a little different, you said something that really stuck out to me. You're a martial artist. A lot of guys don't call themselves martial artists anymore. They call themselves fighters. And I think with martial arts, that's respect, that's honesty, that's loyal, that's integrity. It's all these values. For you, what does it mean to call yourself a martial artist?
I do believe, Carlos, then the first thing is make people understand then is nothing as gift, special, unique about us. It is exactly the other way. It is exactly I feel that my obligation, my responsibility, the passion I have is to share with people, to tell them, you can do it. I'm not unique or different than you. You definitely can pursue your dream. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, whatever you want to be, you can do it. Because what happened was, especially being a fighter, and I gotta say that I'm blessed because I went from fighter to coach. I'm still on the same family. I'm still in the same environment, and I see from both sides, becomes a super responsibility to make you understand that you are responsible for your dream. You are responsible for your actions. You can make it if you decide and you choose to. That's what it makes us. That is the law, in my opinion. Should be the law.
Absolutely. All right, Conan, last question for you, my friend. How much do you love this?
I don't think I have words to say it. I don't think that I can find on the dictionary or in any other place. Um, um, I do know one thing. I didn't choose to be a fighter. Fighting chose me. They found me and say, "Hey, you have the grit on you." So I believe that's being unbelievable. I cannot. I cannot put in words and in words than we know how much I love this. How much this means to me. And I'm very private. I'm very to myself, but my eyes see martial arts as passion.
Absolutely. Well, Conan, man, thank you so much. First off, man, thank you for your time. Secondly, thank you for everything you've done for the sport. I mean, I think guys like you go underappreciated in the way if there weren't advocates who helped grow it, who helped groom it, who helped take it from a time that was locked under a door, you wouldn't have what there is today.
Thank you very much for having me again. I appreciate your words. And my best, satisfaction is to see them getting and making the dream become reality. And I'm part of that. So really, really brings me. I'm very grateful for that.